Hello guys, in this video we are going to learn about object repository. So what we are going to cover in this video is, first we are going to talk about what is object repository. Then we are going to look into types of object that are there in the QTP. Okay. The third thing we are going to talk about is different way of adding object in the object repository. So guys, what's our object repository is? Object repository is a place where QTP stores the attributes of an object. Okay, so what's our attributes of an object? Suppose there is a web edit button. Okay, so developer must have assigned properties to this web edit button so that it can be seen as a web edit and the user can enter information in the web edit. Okay, so QTP, what does QTP does? QTP stores the information about the web edit. So let me just show you. So what I did, we are gone to Yahoo Mail. We have opened yahoomail.com. So this is a web edit. How I know? So what I will do, I'll open the object repository. You can use a Control R to open object repository, or you can use this sign to open object repository. Now I'm going to click on this add button and will point toward Yahoo ID. So this is a web edit in which user can enter its information about its username. So these are the properties that QTP identified from a web page. So this property are type is equal to text. So these are the attributes. What's an attribute of type? And value is text. Attribute is type, value is text. And second, it's identified name. What's the name? Name is equal to login. So QTP uses these property to uniquely identify an object on a web page. A place where it stores all the objects so we can access them and can manipulate them, like perform action on it. So it's a web edit, so we can enter the information in the text box. So to understand more about this, we have to understand what are the different types of object. First is a test object, second is a runtime object. Okay, so if a object is stored in the OR, we say it's a test object. And if an object that is displayed on our web page, it's an runtime object. QTP stores all the information about this web edit in an OR. So it's actually create a duplicate object in its object repository. So second time when we are going to run a script, it's going to identify this web edit using the properties that are stored in the OR. So here we added the login web edit in which user can enter its username. Okay, now what we are going to do, we are going to add one more object, password. All right, so it uses again those three properties that are identified for login: type, name, and HTML tag. For password also it uses the same property. Okay, there are two ways to add an object in the object repository. First is the manual form, second is a default recording form. I have already shown you the manual way in which we can open an object repository and click on add button. So the object will automatically get added into object repository. Second way is the default recording, when you record a script. Okay, let me just show you that way also. Suppose I click on record, and then I click on sign in. So QTP, what QTP will do, it will automatically add the sign in button in its object repository, and also generated the action that we have performed on the web page. So here it is. It again uses those three properties to identify an object that were used in login and password. Guys, there is also one more way. This is an object spy. We are going to talk about object spy in later lectures, but let me just show you. Object spy in 11.5 and from 11 onwards, you can add objects directly from using the object spy. How? Let me just show you. Just click on this button and spy the object. Okay, so once you spied the object, there is a plus button which says add object to repository. Just click on this. Why it's disabled? Because the same object is already there in my object repositories. That's why it's showing it as a disabled. Okay, so guys, what we learned first, object repository is a place where QTP stores attributes of an object. Okay, so if we talk about WebEdit, it stores all the information that is required for a QTP to identify an object. It stores in this object repository. And we talked about types of object. First is a test object. Second is a runtime object. Test object is an object that is stored in the OR, and runtime object is an object that is displayed on the application under test. These two terms are going to come handy in the later on. So now just remember this thing. If it's stored in an OR, we call it as a test object. If we displayed on the application under test, we are going to call it as a runtime object. Then we have seen the way of adding an object in the object repository. First is a manual way, in which we have opened the object repository and click on add and added an object. Second is the default recording. When you record a script, it automatically gets added in your object repository. Thank you guys for watching this video.